Welcome to On the Brink, a fresh lens to take you and your business to new heights. Today, I have with me Ram Iyer. Ram is a great speaker and somebody who I thought that our audiences should know more about. He's done some really great research about why people have difficulty in business success, whether you're a CEO, a thought leader, perhaps you're just starting a business or you've been running a very large one, and he certainly has. And some of them have been very successful. And then every once in a while, he has one that isn't. So he went online to do some really deep research and researched 150 people to find out what works and what doesn't. So a little bit about his background, and then I'm going to let him tell you about himself and this research and what's come out of it that I'm so excited about and want to share with you. Ram is an MIT graduate, actually has 2 master's degrees. He previously worked for Boeing and Lucent. He designed robots to assemble airplanes, carry materials, and assemble phones. He's headed up marketing for a $4 billion business and worked in small, medium, and large businesses. He's been a VC in Silicon Valley, started 4 companies. He's done business in 16 countries. And he heads up the MIT Alumni Association. But all of that is really about him. And now I want him to tell you about himself and how he ended up with this wonderful research that is going to help others, like lots and lots of others, to really do better, which is what we're all about. Ram, thank you for joining us, and tell our listeners all about you.
Thank you very much for having me, Andy. See, we go through life, and I guess you learn more as you get through more of life. Believing that as you acquire more knowledge, more skills, know more people, it will make you successful. One of the things we learn as we get older is, yes, more knowledge helps, more skills help, and knowing more people helps, but it just only keeps making you better. And there is no point at which you can say, I have arrived. The moment you think I have arrived, irrespective of what your qualifications are, you quickly get reminded by a whack in your behind that you haven't.
I think we've all had that little snap that says, oh, I thought I was good, but not good enough.
Absolutely. See, same thing goes with success. We've all had successes. Every single person on the planet has had some kind of success, small, big, whatever, however you define it. Thing is, the purpose of success is to remind you of your knowledge, your skills, your capabilities, and say, Andy, you can succeed, right? People often forget the second part of that sentence, and they kind of put a period right there. You can succeed in doing what you just did based upon what you already know. But it gives you the ability to go into other areas because you have the confidence from having achieved something and succeeded in this one thing. But if you say, I have a bachelor's degree, I can conquer the world. Or I have a master's degree, I can conquer the world. I did one startup, I can conquer the world. That's pushing. Consultants and rah-rah people kind of make you believe that you can. It's one thing to have confidence. It's another thing to also understand your limitations.
Well, limitations are so interesting because let's turn those into a positive.
Sure.
Because those are the things that may be the killer of success, but they also are a mirror that you need to take a good look at and begin to think through them as opportunities or possibilities.
Sure.
You don't have it all there.
Sure.
As we go through our journey, we can talk about lifelong learning, reskilling, but quite frankly, the speed of change today is so fast that unless you're on top of it, it's going to leave you behind. And the past is not going to be a good predictor for what happens in the future.
Right.
Tell the listeners about the research you did, because I thought that's almost an entrepreneurial initiative all by itself. Not quite a business, but it's like a business.
Yeah, it wasn't meant to be an entrepreneurial venture at all. I've done 4 startups, as you mentioned. One of them did really well. And that's the one that we hit to 16 countries. We worked for lots of large companies, including Pfizer, Sony, Cargill, DuPont, charming shops. Lane Bryant stores. We've done a bunch of these. And that did really well. And then we got to a point where I wound that business down. And I said, I'm going to start another one because I had this, I believed, a neat idea. It was what I thought was unoccupied space. I had all the URLs. I built the largest website focused on companies that are not small anymore. They're bigger than small, but they're not big yet, the ones in the middle. And I said, I have this market cornered. Everybody told me I had the market cornered. And then I started executing. And then I hit a wall and it collapsed. And so I said, me collapse, me fail, it can't happen. I've already succeeded. I just succeeded. I have a proof point. So how could I fail? So I picked up the phone, called all the people in my network and said, why did I fail? Long story short, they all kept saying classic thing: lack of capital, lack of technology, lack of the right talent, lack of the right plan. All of which makes sense. All of those are important.
They're pretty routine, though. And at the end of the day, I bet you had the right capital, the right plan, the right market. And in your mind, what are you, crazy? Of course, I had all those in place, right?
Correct. See, but the thing is, I still do believe that I had all those in place.
Yes.
Even to this day, I do. But then I noticed, but it didn't feel right to me. I said, there is something missing that they're missing, but more importantly, I'm missing. So what am I missing? So then I saw a theme in what they said. One, they said, I failed because I lacked something. It's kind of like, you've heard this. Andy, you would have succeeded if only you had X, whatever that X is.
I have heard that.
Yeah. Second thing, everything they pointed to was external to me. People, talent, technology, plans. Then I also noticed something else very ironic, because these are the classic reasons that everybody talks about. It's in the media, you go on YouTube, you name your place, it's there. Then I realized something odd. I make all these connections. Every one of those things they said I lacked had some vendor trying to sell it to me. Capital, you have banks and VCs, okay? When it comes to talent, there are headhunters and recruiters, founder teams, and I'll help you find the right founder. I'll help you get the right talent, right? And then you go to technology, there are technology vendors galore, okay? And then if you go look at plans, there are consultants galore saying, I'll give you the right plan and you'll be all set. So I said, it's not making sense. And every year I think about one problem. I call it my hard thinking project. I spent 9 weeks. I was into my 9th week thinking about why I failed. I didn't have an answer. So I came up with I noticed this lacking and external issues, right? I took those and I did some inversion thinking. I inverted both of those and said, what if I'm not lacking something, but have something that caused me to fail? I possess something and that's causing me to fail. People always think that everything they have is good. I just need to get more in order to succeed. I said, what if I have something that caused me to fail? 2, what if it's not something external, but rather something internal to me? So what did I have within me that may have caused me to fail? How many of us want to look in the mirror and said, okay, Andy, look in the mirror, you're the reason for your screw up. Or Ram, look in the mirror, you're the reason for the screw up. We don't do that because we would rather point at somebody else. Why did Ram fail? Oh, it's Andy's fault. It's John's fault, Mary's fault, somebody else's fault. Just as long as it's not mine. The moment I thought about that, I said, what could have happened to me? The light bulb started going off. I found 1, 2, 3. I came up with 4. Then it became 6. Then I picked up the phone, called many of the same experts and said, I had a bit of an epiphany when I did some inversion thinking. And they said, what do you mean? And they said, this is what I figured out. They go, that's an interesting way to look at it. You know what? Have you thought about this? They kept adding. So it got up to 9. Now it's at 13. Okay. Then I said, okay, I'm an engineer. So all this sounds nice. If I want to just sell a story, I need to go validate this. So I went and reflected on the many conversations I've had. And I said, I'm going to talk to many more people, podcasts, I've done video casts, etc. Then I said, I'm going to do a survey. So I reached out to my network and I got 400 people to take a survey. Okay. This survey had questions that were proxy questions. So in other words, I didn't ask you, Andy, are you a short person? If I asked you that, you're going to go, what do you mean I'm short? Of course I'm not short. I'm tall, right? People won't tell you that. So I asked a lot of proxies. So instead, if I said, Andy, when you walk through a doorway, do you have to bend your head? Do you have to bend at your neck? No, Ram, of course not. I walk tall. Okay, thank you, Shorty. Now I know you're short, right? So you're not a super tall NBA type person. So just an example, right? So I asked a number of proxy questions. I got 320 clean data points, data sets, including 75 multimillionaires.
Wow.
People in business, and 1 billionaire. And what I found was a very strong correlation between certain attributes and success and certain other attributes and failure or limited success. So it basically validated the silent killers. So go ahead.
No, I mean, what's interesting is that you're on the, my whole world is built around on the brink, aha moments that turn an observation into an innovation, something that clicked in your mind. You're on the brink of something that is transformative. It isn't incremental. It isn't an outside, you missing all of these things.
Mhm.
There's something deeper here that the research began to lead you to. And like you, I'm an observer. It isn't about what they're telling you. There's something in the patterns that are emerging. So I'm excited. You want to talk about those silent killers?
Absolutely. See, I'll tell you one very simple thing, and this is something pervasive. And once I point it out, you say, of course, Ram, I know this, and I know many people who fit this. Okay. Many people get into business for the wrong reasons or accidentally. Okay. So they say, I want to become a billionaire like Mark Zuckerberg. Okay. So that's simple. I mean, this is a rhetorical question, of course. Just because you get into business, are you going to make as much money as Mark Zuckerberg? No, but many people believe they will. Okay. They have these mistaken notions of how they could easily. See, they always focus on the finish line. They don't remember that, some people never get started. Many people fail along the way. Many people have baggage that prevents them from getting to the finish line, etc. So many people get into business for a wrong set of reasons, or they get into it accidentally. They say, I'm a really good programmer. My customer, Andy, says, Ram, that's a great piece of software. I know my friend John who would love to buy the same thing. So I sell it to you and I sell it to John. Next thing you know, maybe I can sell it to Mary and somebody else. But stop for a moment. If I have to run it as a business, what I really enjoy is writing software. You then hear somebody, and this is a very classic sentence, I would rather be doing X than be in business.
Yes.
Have you heard that?
Oh, yes.
All the time.
They're excellent subject matter experts. They really love the detail. It's hard for them to figure out even how to run a business, which is a very different set of skills than doing the detail.
Correct.
So,
but see, the key point there is not so much, everybody is good at many things. The key point here is not so much what exactly you're good at. You know what that is. I don't need to tell you what you're good at. You already know that. The thing is, you would rather be working on what you want to do, but not on business.
Yep.
And please tell me why you're surprised if you fail in business.
Well, I hope you're really good at that subject matter expert or that coder or whatever you do really well. But business is a whole different set of skills. So, can I flip this? Who succeeds in business? What is it about them that's different than those who don't?
See, that is an excellent question. And I don't say that in a light way. It's an excellent way of looking at this. See, I went and looked at people who succeeded. Okay, and I said, what is it they do? Same question you asked. What is it they do that I didn't do? How are they looking at things that I'm not looking at? I noticed one very, very simple thing. I gave it a name. Then I said, I don't know how to describe it. I call it business thinking.
Yeah.
And I figured out, sitting exactly where I'm sitting right now, I'm looking out of my window and I see there are woods behind here. Okay. I looked at that and said, sunny day, it's kind of, let's go for a walk. Great day to go for a walk. Okay. Another person looks at the same thing and says, okay, I see about 50 trees. They're each 50 feet tall. If I chop them down, I can sell them for $10 a foot. Okay. So the thing is, it's not so much about cutting down trees. What makes two people who look at the same woods have two different perspectives? One person simply looks at the scenery and a date and an indicator of, is it a good day to go for a walk?
Yep.
Another person looks at the same thing and says, I see a business opportunity.
Yes.
Okay. So these people are different. So I said, that sounds wonderful, but how exactly do I go and model this person who sees it as a business opportunity? It could be chopping down trees. It could be put a fence around the woods and charge people $1. It could be a million other ideas. Okay. Everybody has their own idea. Then I figured out a very simple thing. Each of the people who have business thinking, as I coined it, ask themselves a very, very simple question. How can I add value to you? So, for example, if you and I are doing something, how can I add value to you in return for compensation?
Yes.
How can I add value to you in return for compensation? That is business thinking. Okay? Let me make a distinction. Value thinking is, how can I add value to Andy in return for value from Andy?
Called barter.
No. It could be barter, but that's only one thing. Let me explain that. See, value is always in the eyes of the receiver.
Yes.
I can say, Andy, and wave at you. And you say, Ram, that's useless. You waving at me, who cares? Right?
Yes.
On the other hand, you could say, you waved at me. You smiled at me. That made my day. Okay. It could be that. So
but I define the value of that hand wave.
Exactly. Right? You, the receiver always defines the value. Okay. So let's say I give you some piece of intellectual property. I give it to you. I give you a PowerPoint with 100 slides. Okay. You look at it and say, wow, Ram, this is valuable, very valuable. Okay. So you've decided that it's valuable. Okay. Then let's say you pull out your wallet and give me $1. Okay. So is that a fair exchange of value?
That's a good question. Yep.
The answer, I think, is you then say, Ram, I'm thinking of giving you $1. What do you think? Because I'm the receiver in that case. Yep. In the second case, I'm the receiver. What do you think is the value of this 100-slide deck you just gave me? Would you be happy if I gave you $1,000? Would you be happy? Would you want me to give you $1 million?
Yeah.
Okay. It's only when you and I both agree that what I did for you was valuable and what you gave me back is valuable.
Right.
That we have a thing. And to your point about barter, it could also be barter. You can say, Ram, thank you for giving me this 100-point deck. I will help you to promote your business. I will introduce you to 10 people who will bring in, X millions of revenues. Or, you know what, Ram, you're a nice guy. I feel good. I get a lot of satisfaction from helping people like you. Okay?
So is
value.
Now, is that the essence of a business mindset? Is that
no? That is a value mindset. Business mindset is always when you receive compensation in return.
Gotcha. So as you listen to your own heart as you were doing this and the research that you were coming up with, you want to really help 1 million people do better. Help me help them. What is it they should begin to think about? The first idea is, are you a doer or are you a business leader? I mean, is it that you really want to do something, do that coding really well, or do you want to build a business to help multiples of that happen? And how are you going to avoid the killers of your success?
It's actually even simpler than that.
Go ahead.
So 2 days ago, I gave a talk to 200 people. And these are people who are business owners, entrepreneurs, and entrepreneurs wannabe. And I said, how many of you are in business? I told you already that a business thinking is when you provide something of value and get compensation in return.
Right.
I said, please raise your hand if you think you're in business. About 10% of the room, 200 people, raised their hand. I said, please help me understand why the remaining 90% is not raising their hand. Do you have jobs? They said, yeah, we have jobs. Do you have a business which brings in revenue and you make profit? They said, yeah. Do you work for somebody? Do you employ somebody? They said, of course I do. Every one of you is providing some kind of value or providing payment in return for some kind of value. When you take a look at it, absolutely everybody on this planet is in some kind of a business transaction, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to earn a living. So people think Yes, a business is a legal entity, but that's a narrow definition. In a broader sense, we all are exchanging our time, or we are providing a product or a solution in return for some kind of compensation that enables us to afford a living.
Now, does that mean we're going to succeed in it?
That is where that legal entity, and this is where I'm exchanging value in return for value, has to tighten up and say, I'm going to provide value in return for compensation. And then, is the compensation that you provide adequate to cover my costs and earn a decent profit margin?
Now,
if I don't,
right?
I don't have a business.
So as you looked at your killers of success, coming from the inside, not the outside, not about the capital or the business plan or the market, the killers of that success for those 200 people who are listening there, give me a sense of, we don't need all of them, but give me a sense of 3 or 4 or 5 killers that are going through their minds that they didn't raise their hand when you asked them if they were in business, for example.
See, very simply, many people who are in business have no desire to be in business.
Yeah.
Okay, and then they fail, and then they say, I wonder why. Okay, but here's the key thing: who knows? Let's say that you, Andy, you're failing miserably in business, and you go to your husband and say, I don't know why I'm failing. Okay, do you constantly tell everybody you run into saying, I really don't like being in business?
Mm-hmm.
No, we keep that to ourselves. We hide it.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a silent killer, because you hide it, you think you don't have it. Other people think you actually do love being in business and say, I don't know what's wrong with Andy. She keeps screwing up in business every time. But the problem is you have a silent killer within you.
Did you think yourself that you really didn't like to be in business?
In my case, I enjoyed being in business, and I was focused on the outcome, the success I wanted. And I didn't stop to examine what I enjoyed doing more. I'll give you a very simple example. If you do what you love, you will not work another day. Somebody said that. It's somebody's quote, not mine. Somebody's quote. Okay? Think about that for a moment. If you really love what you do, are people going to probably pay you for it? They will. Yeah. And if you make an adequate amount of money, it ends up being a business in which you do what you love, not necessarily running the business. You can hire somebody else to run the business. And you're making oodles of money. Yeah. And then people stop and say, Ram, brilliant guy. He does what he loves and he makes money. But it's only because those are aligned. When it's not aligned, you fail. So in my case, I was not aligned earlier.
Now, was there a number 2 or number 3? I mean, this is, to do what you love. People ask us, my husband and I work together. He's a serial entrepreneur. He sold his business in March and really, cashed out. It was wonderful. We don't have to work. And people say, when are you going to retire? I said, I did about 30 years ago. If retiring is about doing what you really want to do, and work is what you don't want to do. Correct. And we just reversed that all and said, no, we're passionate about what we're doing. We truly enjoy it. And we have more fun than fun helping others do better. And that's what you're beginning to talk about, aren't you?
Correct. Say, like, for example, another very classic one is the self-talk. We all talk to ourselves. Okay. And the self-talk can be constructive or destructive. Because I don't know what your self-talk is, I cannot tell you whether your behaviors are constructive or destructive. Okay? So the self-talk is another silent killer. So if somebody is saying, things are really screwing up, examine your self-talk. Listen to what you say to yourself. Yes. I go, you know what? I will get you that report done by 5 p.m. And I'm saying to myself, there is no way in hell I'm going to get it done by 5 today. It may be another week, but I'm not going to tell her that. And then, you don't get it by 5 and you fire me.
Ram, the neurosciences are teaching us so much about the culture and the brain and the way in which the brain creates this perceptual map of reality. Mm-hmm. And that our culture is about sharing and communicating it and the symbols and meaning of it and progressing with it. It's a very interesting brain. But once you have a mind map of reality, you sort what you see to conform to it, affirm it.
Correct. See, those are mental models.
A mental model.
Mental model.
You're talking about is talking to yourself about that particular mental model, which is at odds for success, isn't it?
Correct. And the moment I use a particular mental model to frame, so I'm talking to you, I'm looking at you, I may look at you in a certain frame.
Right.
Okay. And the moment I put you in that frame, I'm going to make certain choices about you. Okay. When you take a look at it, it boils down to two things. One is, what do I see?
Yes.
But more importantly, what do I think I see?
Yeah.
And that's where I put it. So if my mental model is screwed up, it doesn't matter how brilliant or useful or whatever you are. I'm going to put you in a little pigeonhole and say, you know what? Screw that.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the changes that are coming. We work with organizations, all kinds, and they are facing hurdles that are unanticipated because their clients are changing. And the business that they always had, whether it's a legal firm, an accounting firm, manufacturing firm, a firm in the resort industry, manufacturers of travel pillows, it doesn't matter. What always worked in the past isn't necessarily going to work tomorrow. Even in the resort business, there's hotels. There are hotels in Japan that are completely run by robots. And things are coming fast in the world of artificial intelligence. I mean, this is not tomorrow. This is now.
Yeah.
You know, firms are calling us, can I help reskill their workers for the future? Because the future is going to be different than now, but we're not sure what it is. And so business success, business thinking, and the killers of your success are going to be big hurdles, obstacles that are going to get in the way of your ability to adapt to the changing times.
Absolutely.
And so, as you know, as I'm thinking about you wanting to train 1 billion people about how to do this, you know, in some ways, they're going to need new ways of seeing, of thinking, of talking about, but also of change. Very few people like to change. The brain hates to change. That frontal cortex hates it. And then on the other side, they don't have a lot of skills for doing it. It's like teaching them a new game. We're not going to play cricket. You don't know how to play cricket, but you're going to be really good at it tomorrow because here's a book, read it. It doesn't work that way. And so as you're thinking about your killers of success and your brain for business mind thinking, these are very powerful, important tools for helping people adapt to the changes. Your thoughts on this, sir?
See, you bring up two good points there. One is people always keep thinking that if only I had X, I could be successful or I could be more successful. What I'm saying is, before you do that, step one, make sure you don't have anything within you that is going to cause you to fail in the first place. So in other words, you know, death on runway. Forget about takeoff. You never take off because you're stuck on the runway. Second thing is, you know, this 1 billion people that I told you about and I've written about on both my websites. It boils down to a very simple and profound change that's happening around us. And people know all the pieces, but they haven't connected the dots. So I'm hoping this will be a TED Talk later this year. The population of the world continues to increase. It's 7.6 billion. I think I read somewhere that it's going to be about 10 billion by the mid-century. Okay, which means more and more people are coming into the workforce. So if you're a listener, you or your children or your grandchildren are coming into the workforce. So they're coming into the workforce in the hopes of finding a job. Okay, because people think traditionally in terms of finding jobs. And who will create the job? Somebody else will, and the somebody else is usually a company. Okay, so businesses provide jobs. The rate of business formation around the world, including US, has been declining.
That's correct.
Okay, so the population is increasing, meaning more people looking for work, but the number of companies that provide work is decreasing, which means many people who come into the workforce will not be able to find jobs. Two, many of the companies need fewer people to generate the same amount of revenue. So, for example, Google, do you know how much revenue they earn per employee? 1.6 million. 1.6 million per employee. In manufacturing, it's more like $100,000 or $120,000 per employee. In others, it's probably even less. Okay. Two, so basically, as with increased use of automation and AI, they need fewer people, which means even more people will get kicked into the unemployed workforce.
Right.
Many people don't even finish high school most don't even go to college. But even if they went to a college that you and I went to, right? The education system, it was designed for the industrial era.
That's correct.
It's
For
like,
managing hands.
correct. Andy, go study marketing because you can go to company X, pick your favorite company, go work for JP Morgan in marketing.
Yeah.
Okay. But then how will JP Morgan make money? Andy says, I'm not worried about that. That's somebody else's problem. I just do marketing. Right? In the new world that you go into, if you're amongst the group that cannot find a job, these will be hundreds of millions of people around the world.
Right.
You have to figure out, you need business thinking. You need to understand what value can I provide to the world. It's like, well, first of all, let me figure out what I'm good at. So you need to figure out what you're good at, how to package it, and figure out who needs this kind of value. I mean, in our example, I'm saying, Andy, I do this for you. But finding a potential customer like Andy in itself is a big chore. Many people don't even know where to go look for a customer.
Yeah.
Then how do you market to that customer? How do you sell to them? How do you negotiate? How do you deliver on the promise you made saying, I can do X, right? How do you collect the money? How do you take a portion of that and save it for retirement? Because if you're working on your own, there is no 401k plan, there is no pension.
No.
Right? So who is training people to do all this?
Yeah.
But if you boil it all down, that's the essence of business thinking. How can I add value to you, A, B, C, D, whoever the person is, in return for compensation that will allow me to earn a living? So if you lack business thinking, you cannot even earn a living.
And what's worse, to take us back to where we started, they're going to blame others.
Correct.
Not themselves.
Correct.
And we just finished working with the university to help them find their blue ocean strategy. The problem is it's a very old model of education for a world that doesn't need it the same way.
Correct.
And everything is going to be going through a major transformation. I don't want to be the Luddites who are going to try and burn down the factories, but the world is going to really change. So the business thinking, so we're almost at a point where I think I'd like to wrap us up, because the business thinking that you're talking about is essential for everybody. Big economy is built on people who realize they don't have to be inside a company to be valuable. And I love those who say, I'm in the sharing economy. I don't need to be inside. I have value and I can offer my services in exchange for compensation my way. That takes.
You bring up another good point. Even if you're an employee within a company, business thinking is extremely important for you.
Yes.
Because I'm Andy, I just do marketing, whatever, right? Or I can say, every day I go and I said, how can I add more value to my customer? And I go, wait a minute, who is my customer again? Because very often we just do things, we don't know who we do it for.
Yep.
I go and say, oh, Andy is my customer. Okay, say, Andy, this is what I think your problem is. I'm thinking that what I'm going to do is going to help you solve that problem, address your need. Does that make sense? And Andy goes, Ram, no, that doesn't help. That doesn't make sense. So I need to go back to the drawing board, figure out what the right thing is, and figure out a way to solve it. And you go, you know what, that sounds about right. Then I need to go away, do that thing, deliver it to you, and say, Andy, did that meet your need?
No.
You said, absolutely. At that point, I've delivered value to you. So you can use business thinking even if you're an employee of a company.
Let's take the word business away and let's just say you need to think.
Yeah.
You need to reflect. You need to begin to recast that story. We're human storytellers, and what you're asking for is a different story. It's a story that doesn't say, I have a job to do. I'll pick up my paycheck. Thank you. It's, I have value to add. How do I do this in an innovative way that can fill an unmet need? I must tell you, Ram, it's very blue ocean. That's the essence of a blue ocean strategy, but you're looking at it for the entire population of lots of the world. So let's wrap up now. If people would like to hear more from you, because this has been a fascinating conversation, and I know you love to speak and to hold workshops, tell them where they can, and I will make sure that it's on the material that we provide at the end here, but where can they reach you?
Yeah, easiest way to reach me is by email. I'm Ram, R-A-M, at businessthinking.com, one word. So we have a website, businessthinking.com. I also have a speaker website at my full name, ramviyer.com. So R-A-M, V as in Victor, I-Y-E-R.com. So there I have all my speaker topics, some sample clips, etc.
Now, Ram has a marvelous podcast, as we do, and I'm going to turn this into an audio. For those of you who like to drive to work and listen to the podcast, I promise you Ram will be available in that fashion as well. You can find it at andysimon.com or simonassociates.net, our business website. It's truly been a truly great conversation with you today. I've totally enjoyed it. And for our listeners who are going to hear this on Audible, it's fun to watch Ram and I interact on YouTube Live. And I'm going to do more of these. I truly appreciate it. So, Ram, last thoughts you'd like to leave our listeners with? Anything really cool as you start your day? It's Tuesday after Memorial Day. Business thinking is there. Don't let them. Killers of success. Something you'd like to end with?
Well, see, the thing that comes to my mind is people who succeed in business or in life have a certain mindset.
Yes.
And a mindset is based upon what they believe.
Yes.
So, simple thing I want every one of you to think about is be careful of what you believe, because you are listening.
Yes. I love it. All right. For those of you on YouTube, I'm going to say goodbye. And